Bubba Wallace is one of the few NASCAR drivers that non-NASCAR fans can probably name off the top of their head. This level of popularity is exactly what makes Bubba Wallace a polarizing figure in NASCAR. He isn't necessarily a bad driver, but also isn't really good enough to warrant the amount of attention he is given by the media. However, to understand why some people don't like Bubba, we first need to actually look at how good he really is. Just by the numbers, Bubba Wallace is a decent Cup Series driver. Since first entering the series in 2017, he's racked up 2 poles, 34 top 10s, 18 top 5s, 2 wins, and made the playoffs for the first time this past season. Again, these are some solid numbers and usually are improving numbers year after year for Bubba. So, on the surface, Bubba Wallace looks like a driver that would have a solid fan base behind him, but not necessarily a huge amount of love or disdain towards him, because he's never been a championship contender. Well, there's just one problem. Bubba Wallace usually has his face put on a lot of advertising material for NASCAR. Race promos, lots of media stuff, and all those kind of things is where Bubba is kind of plastered on. So despite not being a driver who is a contender, he is given the attention and media coverage of a guy who is. This disproportionate amount of attention, along with how Bubba can sometimes come off as a little whiny, makes NASCAR fans not like him a whole lot. Because NASCAR fans are just kind of like that by nature. I know a lot of people who don't like NASCAR will point to its fan base being largely based in the South and say that's why Bubba is disliked. He's a black driver in a predominantly white sport with a predominantly white fan base, and that must mean he is disliked because of racism. Well, I'm sorry, that's just not why he's disliked. You kinda gotta look into why he's disliked first. I'm not trying to make some kind of political statement here. Believe me, I try to stay away from politics. I felt uncomfortable just bringing up this stuff. Don't shoot the messenger. Please don't get that mad at me. I'm not trying to be political. It's not a race thing. Maybe for a very small subset of weirdos it is, and yeah, those people are just strange and probably need to seek help. But for a majority of NASCAR fans who don't like Bubba Wallace, they are not doing so because of anything political. NASCAR fans are working class people, and the sport reflects that. Most drivers need to scratch and claw their way to even sniffing the Cup Series. They need to pay their dues and earn respect from their fellow drivers and fans. Anybody who doesn't is scrutinized. Just look at guys like the Busch brothers and Joey Logano. They were seen as the best prospects NASCAR had ever had. As soon as they made it to the Cup Series, they were marketed and promoted and racing with some of the best teams in the sport. And NASCAR fans hated them because of it. They didn't pay their dues and were seen as being handed everything on a silver platter. So Bubba being given all this attention from NASCAR despite not really earning it on the track is going to lead to him being disliked just like every other driver who is viewed in that light. Is this hate warranted? Maybe. It really just depends on how you view it. Personally, I like to think I'm pretty neutral in this situation. I don't like when he wrecked Kyle Larson and then tried to fight him, but I like how Bubba seems to be a pretty good dude and how he is helping the sport grow. Do I think Bubba should be disliked? Maybe. He's done some stuff on the track that is definitely deserving of some hate from other fans or drivers. And I don't think he's good enough to be as marketed as he is. However, Bubba is trending in the direction of having a few solid seasons. I could see him making the playoffs more and more frequently and possibly making it out of the first round a few times. Really, there should be a fine line where even if you don't like Bubba Wallace, you can still respect him. At the end of the day, he's still a solid Cup Series driver who is trending upwards. So while he is kind of whiny and can be a bit of a pest on the track, that's how a lot of our favorite drivers are viewed by other fan bases anyway. I don't want to sound too sympathetic towards Bubba, or everyone will just dismiss me as a fan of his who is viewing this situation through a biased lens. But like I said earlier, I don't necessarily like the guy a whole lot. I just see why some people would like him and why he's stuck around NASCAR for a while. I mean, he's reached the point of kind of being a seasoned veteran. He's been around the Cup Series a lot. He's been around NASCAR as a whole a lot. He's really reached that status of being a pretty dependable driver who can maybe snag a win, can definitely get you in top 15, top 10, maybe a top 5. He can score you some good points and is just kind of a good guy to have on your team and in the garage. And a lot of guys seem to respect him and like him. So am I necessarily saying like he's a championship contender, he's all this, he's all that? No. But I am saying he's a respectable guy who's he's earned his way to get where he is. And I mean, he's kind of a people's person. A lot of people like him, like I said. So it's not hard to see why he's gotten to where he is, because not only has his talent gotten him there, but him being a decent dude and guys liking him has helped him get to where he is. And he's just a really marketable guy. And a lot of the time, you know, when we see him being interviewed and stuff, it's not necessarily because they just choose to interview him. It's because Bubba Wallace is involved in a lot of the drama on the track, so he gets interviewed and asked a lot of questions because he's involved in a wreck or some kind of drama with somebody else, so he gets kind of shoved into the spotlight, not necessarily by his own choice or even by anybody else's choice. It's just something happened and Bubba Wallace was probably involved in it, so he's gonna get asked about it, because that's just how Bubba drives. He gets involved in a lot of stuff, so he just kind of gets shoved into the spotlight a lot. So it's not even necessarily his fault. But I understand why people do dislike him, because he's popular for not necessarily being a great driver. So it's kind of unearned in some people's eyes, and I get that. But I also don't feel the need to really hate on the guy a whole lot. But hey, that's just me. You can let me know what your opinions are down in the comments below. I'm sure it's gonna be interesting to see how people respond to this video. A lot of people might not like me after this. I'm sorry about that, but yeah, it is what it is. Anyways, I'm Limitless Pools. I'll see you guys next time.
But you get the mix right, nigga, put it in the blender. Hell yeah, Wingstop. Jump on the chicken tender. It's like the beef with energy and water like timber. It's hurting, looking like dinner. It's like I got the bag, boy or girl. You can pick